Hey, welcome to Agile Driven Impact and today's episode. We are so excited for this co-pilot episode where we've got Bethany Planton of BMP Consulting talking with us about team happiness and
Yeah,
stress.
I really enjoyed the conversation because we really got into using those as real metrics that can change the way that organizational leaders think about how to measure performance and what causes good performance. I think that was really eye-opening and how to connect those metrics to success in the future. I think it was really enjoyable. I think you'll get a lot out of it, and I think it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun and so much fun that you're going to want to stick around at the end of the episode for the ice cream outtakes. Yep, that's the end. Hello, and welcome back to Agile Driven Impact. We are so excited to have a very special guest, not just joining us on Zoom, but joining us live in person for this particular
Amazing.
recording of our co-pilot episode. And this one is super special to us. Our guest today, Bethany M. Planton, GPC, RSM, RPO, is a really good friend of ours, right? Just to be super transparent. And in addition to being a really good friend, she's the founder and CEO of BMP Consulting, a capacity building firm serving 501(c)(3) nonprofit organizations for a decade, more than a decade.
Mhm.
Millions of
Wow.
dollars raised, lots of support for nonprofits of all shapes and sizes with a particular passion for like human services and arts. Yeah, lots of
Mhm.
stuff. We're going to get into some
Yep.
of it. But yes, all the scrummy things too. And the reason why, and then we're going to talk about, I want you to talk about your background and all that here in a second.
Mhm.
But Bethany's part of a group that, yeah, they go by hashtag Healthy Grant Pro, done a bunch of research published around burnout and tested Agile and Scrum techniques in thinking about helping teams. So, Bethany,
Oh,
welcome.
thank you. It's fun to be here.
And I think we should say like happy ice cream month.
Yes,
That's an
yes.
important
That is
part.
very
It's
important.
probably going to come up in today's
hmm
conversation, right?
Love ice
Probably.
cream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So there we go. I gave a big intro, but I mean, Eric, want to find out some more about our awesome guest so
Yeah, I
people
mean,
understand the context?
yeah, I think the combination of credentials that you have is pretty rare, right?
Mhm.
So, grant professional certification and a Scrum Master and product owner
Mhm.
credentials. Like, how did your path lead you to bring agile practices into grant work and nonprofit consulting? Like, where does that path start?
Well, it starts with you. We're being honest. It's because I was subcontracting with Diane and learned these things, and then realized as learning them, and working with the team on them that this really could help with burnout and really could do some things to help make sure we're not stressed and we're not um, overwhelmed by all of the things that we have to do in grant writing.
Okay, so you connected it to so just help
Yep.
the listeners out. So you connected it really to something that you were already passionate about, which was sustainable pace of
Mm,
work and keeping
yeah,
people from burning out on what's typically pretty difficult things.
right. So the Scrum certifications came first and then the Healthy Grant Pro, but it filled with, I think it's personality somewhat of just, I was from the beginning, I've always been the don't email me while I'm off. Like, leave me alone. I'm not working, so I will not see it.
Hmm.
So I think the Scrum principles just worked with that very cohesively and made it easy to just
Sure.
go, oh yeah, why wouldn't we do this?
Ah, cool. Cool.
And I mean, I don't have my bookshelf behind me. We're in Eric's workspace, but when I've got my books behind me, I'm always pointing at the GPA journals,
hmm
the
I
Healthy
don't have any
Grant.
of those.
No, not right. Different
I
office.
don't have those.
But the Healthy Grant Pro group, and let's give a quick shout out, right? And Jonna
Okay,
Rogers and Trish Bachman and Patricia DuBois were the other three individuals
correct.
who've done all
Yep.
this research with you. You've been published two times, three
Three
times?
times
Three.
so far.
So, but that says what? I mean, that the fact that it's been published that much, it's been studied. This
hmm
isn't nice to have.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, because the first article was we just wanted to establish that we needed data to show there was burnout within the profession. Lots of other professions had shown it already, but we're grant professionals. We know we need our data. Like, where was the data? We had all the anecdotal evidence, people coming up to us saying "I'm burnout, staying up all night doing stuff. We know this is not sustainable. So that's what we set out to do was we just want some data. So we created the first article talks about the data we collected, which was a survey through the Grant Professionals Association and some other entities. And that said 3 out of 4 people has experienced burnout. Of course, we're not saying, did you experience burnout? Because people don't know. But all the symptoms, are you doing these? And that's how we did it. But then that opened the bigger, like, we're like, oh, that would be nice if we just do that. No, there's more. Because we kind of opened the door then, because people are like, well, we have it, so what do we do? And so that was the second and third articles are about. The second one is lots of strategies. Take your pick. We divided them into I care because we don't love self-care word that's been used in different ways, but I care, we care, and they care. So I care is myself, we care is us as a profession, and then they care is the organizations you work with. So we had strategies for all that. Then that we kept going, okay, but this they care piece, this organization, which is, I feel like really where Scrum comes in too. How do we make our organizations better so that we're not burning out? We can do all, we can do all the self-care, I care we want, but that if you're in a bad situation, one that's going to burn you out, then what do we do? So we're trying to see, we didn't get fully through that, but what we did, we were trying to find out is if those that you report to, like grant professional reporting to someone, do they understand what we need? And we kind of found there wasn't as much difference in that. So we think it's maybe a bigger cultural thing than just your straight boss, but probably the whole organization if there's stuff. But plenty of room. We're happy to have other people start doing some research too. Take our ideas and keep going.
I mean, a lot of scientific research, along with some patterns from Scrum, point out that it's not that success leads to happiness, it's actually the other way around.
Right.
Happiness drives performance,
Yeah.
whether it be in the nonprofit space, the business space, or any of those types of things. So, like, what does that actually look like to you in practice? And how has that insight from that research shaped how you actually work with real teams?
For Scrum, we've seen a lot of times that we know that happiness precedes success.
Mhm.
And why wouldn't you want a bunch of happy team members? Like, why would you want them miserable? So I think that's the path I go of like, okay, so what do we do that makes them happy? Like,
Mhm.
I recently did a training where we were talking about coaching um those that report to the like middle management. And I found a list there's of 16 reasons people leave jobs. Only like 3 or 4 of them, I don't remember the exact number, but 3 or 4 of them dealt with actual money.
Mhm.
So working, I mean, Diana and I work in a lot in the nonprofit, they don't always have the money to always raise the salary,
Sure.
but you can do a lot of things that help people be happy
Right.
at work without it always being money. Giving them clear instructions of what they should be doing, praising them, celebrating the little wins, those sorts of things that can actually make it a better work environment and then which then people are happier at
So
work.
then if you're actually measuring some form of you're putting a metric on this,
Right.
right? And when that metric changes, what do you practically do with it? So if the metric, let's say the team is getting a bunch happier, what do you do with that insight? Or they're getting less happy, what do you do with that insight?
We look at the data and see what was happening.
Yeah.
Do we want to tell the now famous story?
There is a very famous story
Infamous.
Yeah, no, that's true. Of Bethany being a scrum master as a subcontractor to my writing team at the time. And well, I'm not going to steal your story. I mean, it's our story, but yeah, no, you get to start it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So a couple years in a row, we kept seeing a dip in the team happiness. We'd been tracking it for every sprint for years, and we kept seeing a dip the same time. Finally, we would go, oh yeah, this is the same time as last year we saw a dip. Why in the world are we seeing a dip? It's in the summer. We all like summer. We're all usually pretty happy in the summer. For the most part, our deadline wasn't like changing a ton. It was all that so it took a little bit of digging, and then we went, oh, the New York State grants come out and are due in the summer. And we started digging deeper because it wasn't just New York. I mean, it wasn't just the fact that it was New York State grants. That was not actually.
That'd be a separate podcast episode. That's not today's.
Yeah.
Nope.
That wasn't it though.
Nope, it wasn't.
We finally found out by talking to the team. I think it did take some conversations with the team figuring out.
Sure, it usually does.
Yeah. Oh, it's because taking on new clients that have not worked with us at all. New York State grants are they need to have their program design very well done to
Mm.
be able to be successful. And we're getting them too late to
Oh,
have that stuff done,
okay.
done it well, and us work with them and be able to
Right.
guide them into what they need to do to have these New York
Right.
State. So we weren't having high success with the New York State grants in those instances.
Sure.
And we weren't, and it was stressful for everybody. They didn't have all this stuff, they didn't have all their grant readiness stuff done usually. And so that's what we ended up deciding was dipping the happiness.
Yeah. And then I'll catch the story if I
Yeah.
can, because by having someone who was paying attention to the data, Bethany was looking at the trends and said, here's what we, and did some more digging, surveyed the team to try and get some more information. Why do we think? What are your theories about why? Came to me then as the chief product owner for the organization, said, here's what we found. Like, wow, can't even imagine. And also to add one layer, they weren't our traditional types of clients either. Which part of why
Yeah.
they were coming in, because this New York State process, everybody can apply. Anybody you want money, everybody can apply.
Mhm.
So it was all sorts of people that, to your point, weren't ready.
Yeah.
And so the team said, what if we didn't take those clients the next time? So they're proposing something that's like might feel pretty risky in terms
Right.
of like, right, happiness questions and all these take a lot of psychological safety.
Mhm.
They came to me and said, what if we didn't do it this way? What if we changed the way we take clients for this project? What if we said we only take new clients until it opens? What if we, I'm like, that's a pretty cool working theory. After multiple years of data, I'm like, it's in your face.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's try it for 1 year, because that's all you can do,
Mhm.
right? You've got to do some hypothetical test to
Yeah.
see, is it really going to change the numbers? And Bethany, did we see a dip?
Nope.
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 And we still, years later, have exactly the same structure in place for that, because we don't want to risk that that would be a dip. It's summer. People want ice cream, right?
Right?
Bethany?
Yes,
Yeah,
we do want ice cream and time on the river.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love the connection of the metric to then kind of root causing it.
Mhm.
And I think
Mhm.
that's a powerful thing. And I think I want to ask this next question, which is really around, because I work in the for-profit
Right.
space, and it's oftentimes difficult to get leaders to think that happiness is a real metric, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then it leads to performance. And I think uh, this story and the stories that I use sometimes too with my group
Mhm.
sometimes help with that, because
Right.
if there's a policy change or something else, you can see it in the data,
Mhm.
and then you can get the team members to maybe propose instead of just complaining, right? Because the
Right.
complaining is in the metric,
Yeah.
right? They can
Yeah.
complain with the metric.
Mhm.
Okay, now that we've got the complaining out of the way with the metric,
Mhm.
great. What are some things we could do, right? And
Right.
turning it
Right.
from a complaint into action
Right.
and ideas from
Mhm.
just any employee,
Right.
right? Any
Right.
team member. I think that's
Yeah.
a powerful thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, and so I want to, it's not just about our story, but in any of the teams that are measuring happiness, that's a pretty risky question to ask. Or
Mhm.
people think you're joking,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
asked in a conference space once, there's 300 people in the room, and I'm like, how many of you want to be happy at work? And the room was silent, minus a few chuckles. And they're like,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
of course we want to be happy at work.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, but I'm serious. But how many of you were asked recently if you were happy at work? In the last month, no hands. In the last quarter, I got a few. In the last 6 months, a few more. In the last year,
Yeah.
by the time you're done, you've got like maybe 10% of the
Right.
room's hands
Right.
are open,
And
right? Or
it,
up. And
right.
so not a lot of people are asking, or they don't feel comfortable
Right.
asking.
And I feel like they're asking in a non-meaningful way.
Yeah.
Like they might say, "Are you
happy?
Are you happy?"
Yes, no question,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Like, oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no to that.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yeah.
And that probably, I mean, that leads us to the next question that I'd like to ask, which is probably around how do you actually get uh, meaningful information versus a survey that people just fill out and forget? Like, what tools, approaches have you seen work, or what have you seen that just gets ignored?
Mm. I don't think any tool can be ignored. So it's the tool that you'll use.
Mhm.
I say that for measuring happiness all the way down to what email service you're going to use, right? Like, what's a tool that you and your group will use? So is it as simple as we need one survey and there's, one person that's their job to go look at it and everybody knows to fill it out at a certain time but what's the tool that you and your group will use?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just something simple that
Yeah.
people actually use,
Right.
that they feel comfortable and safe putting information into.
Yeah. Yes. That psychological safety, making sure that
Have you
your team
seen that
has.
it's normally that you need to make it anonymous to get started and kind of roll the whole group's information together versus individuals? What have you seen?
I think that, let me give the standard grant professional answer. It depends.
Of
I think
course.
if your team is already a pretty good set team, you might already have that psychological safety. It doesn't matter as
Mhm.
much. But if you're really starting new, yeah, probably the anonymous. We'll just look at it all together.
Right. And see what's
Everybody's, yeah,
down and
yeah,
what's happened. Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
And I know a little shout out to our season 2 sponsor, Agile and Nonprofits. In their retrospective toolkit download, there's like fun ways to do it where people
Right.
like they don't have to put their name there. Like they put a dot on the pizza, they put a sprinkle
Yeah.
on the
Ice
ice
cream.
cream. I know we brought it back to ice cream again,
Wow. You guys
but
are good at bringing it back to history.
we there's a theme. There's a theme. But so that it's anonymous doesn't have to be like a Google
Right,
form
right.
anonymous, right? It can be like something a little more fun and lighthearted too. Again, thanks to our sponsor for that
Right,
free
right.
download for everybody, because that's not nonprofit specific. Those templates work
Yeah,
anywhere. In fact, a lot of them were inspired by Chris Stone, who works with a lot of for-profits in
yeah,
the UK and around
yeah.
the world,
Yep.
right? So yeah, I think that's a really important question that you raised. Anything, Eric, that you want to chime in on too, though, because you're in a different industry space
Right.
than we are a lot of the time for like, what is a go-to tool that if you have to start, what might you propose where somebody would
Yeah, I mean, if
start?
you're in like a scaled environment with multiple teams in a
Yep.
large organization, typically what I've seen is at the team level, you might be looking at the psychological safety, so everyone might fill it out even openly in the team, but then taking that team's average, totally anonymized, and then that given up is
Mhm.
usually the way that people feel safe enough
Yeah.
about it. And that's given some really good insights. At one of the organizations I work with, there was a dip in happiness
Hmm.
that preceded two people from the team leaving the company. Now,
Wow.
it would have been beneficial for leadership to be
Right.
looking at it a little ahead of time,
Yeah.
but in hindsight, it was like, wow, the data did show this. So it's important
Hmm.
that if you are rolling it up, that somebody's doing something, not about the absolute numbers, but the
Yeah.
change, right?
Yeah.
Because one team's 3 and
Hmm.
another team's 4 on a scale of 1 to 5 is kind of meaningless. But if one team goes from a 4 to a 3, or one team goes from a 3 to a 4,
Right.
that's meaningful
Yeah.
information. That's at least what we've found.
Hmm.
Well,
But I
and
think there's an interesting one that for you, because you guys, you all measure something a little different. You measure two metrics, right? And
we
I
do.
and I want to hear more about that, because to me that's something that we don't do yet, and I think is really cool. And you do it partially because your grant writing firm is "Don't let grants stress you out" is like the motto, but you use another metric along with happiness. How does that work?
Well, and Bethany and I have talked about this a lot. And then so I would say actually her role as a scrum master in our team is part of what is embedded in that, even though she's not working with our team
Hmm.
and is just now
Oh,
a
did she
dear
invent
friend.
it? Maybe she
No,
invented it. You know?
But I would say I would
Take
credit
credit.
her
yeah.
boundary setting with part of what inspired actually our current scrum master.
Uh-huh.
So a previous podcast cast guest, Beth Archer,
Hmm.
was the one who said, you know, there's what happiness is on the day of. But then there's all the things that are happening in the sprint that influence that answer.
Hmm.
But we don't want to ask everybody about happiness on a daily basis. That feels like it's just going to lose all meaning.
Right.
And so, and she has a happiness budget. Again, credit to Bethany for
Hmm.
how we collaborated. We're like, what
Hmm.
if we just put a few dollars, not a
Right.
few
It
dollars,
was a
right?
few dollars, yeah.
Literally. And so all this had been done, but still, it's not about happiness. Beth said, I wonder if we talked about team stress on a daily basis, what would that lead to? How would we understand that maybe everybody had a great day because you just did a whole bunch of project submissions right before retrospective? Yeah, happiness is going to be super high,
Right.
right?
Right.
Teams flying,
Right.
everybody's loving it. Versus, whew, that was just a really hard thing that happened the day of retrospective, and it influences it. So we started to ask every day at Daily Scrum, what is your current stress level? But the team didn't love the 1 to 5 scale,
Hmm.
which is often how they're thinking about happiness.
Right.
They instead found colors that they liked. And so blue means super calm,
Yeah.
and green is energized, ready to go. Yellow is a little stressed, think we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Red, I need help. Like somebody help propose solutions, let's swarm, something's got to give.
Hmm.
Then there's brown. And brown means send coffee or chocolate. So
Which
it's
is
like
not
all the
good.
way.
That's beyond red.
It's
Yes.
beyond red,
Oh,
which is,
wow.
I know, right? You might think it comes before, but
No.
and it's almost more like, I don't know what color to give. And so like then it's like send chocolate,
Chocolate,
send coffee.
right.
Or actually, because we got a lot of tea drinkers on the team, it could be send tea.
Tea.
Anything, but like send
Yes.
caffeine.
Mhm.
And so they started to ask that every day and also document it in the same spreadsheet in a different tab. So one's always tracking the happiness, one's tracking their daily answers, so that they could plot where are their correlations between them, what's happening during a week, what's happening immediately before. What we found is that the happiness is still really linked to what happened for stress level the day before retrospective.
Okay.
But you could see some, and we're about 2 years into it now, we can see trends that are not related to happiness, but to stress and to deadlines and volume that have brought about deeper conversations than in measuring happiness, what we had found in 10 years. So both, they show us different things, but well, to Bethany's point, like only if you're watching the data.
Right.
Right? I don't know how long it took you when you went through that spreadsheet years ago
Right.
to uncover.
Yeah. But there
was way before AI was doing our data
we were definitely
analysis.
doing it ourselves, and it definitely was like, oh, did we have this? Feels like we saw this last year. Like that kind of was just the feeling. Let's go back. But I love that you're doing the stress now, because measuring the stress, because that's burnout is all based on stress. People kind of think burnout, sometimes you're like, it's a switch flipped. No, there are years usually leading up to being completely burnout, where you're going to go up and quit, with that no plan.
Right.
The ultimate burnout story, kind of. But measuring that stress, because it's all based on stress. Burnout is, yeah.
Well, and the team, it opened up a really interesting conversation about what's the appropriate level of stress. Probably calm. All blues is like too chill.
Yeah.
We're like
Yeah.
hanging out, right?
Right.
So like, what's the U stress? What's the green level that's appropriate? And if I could then even say one more thing about the story is that the team decided to start asking clients at their weekly check-ins
That's great.
what their stress levels were using the color code. And all of a sudden, again, to your point, like our team motto that everybody knows us by is don't let Grant stress you out. Clients all of a sudden are like, oh, can I answer teal? I'm kind of between green and yellow. And we started tracking theirs. And in 2026, the team actually set product goals that were related to reducing client stress because that's our tagline, right?
Right.
What's your line always about what you measure and importance? You got a great line that I hear you
Not
say all
my
the
line,
time.
but
No, I know, but you say
what
it.
you measure gets managed, basically. It's what gets measured gets managed.
Yeah.
Right.
Good or bad.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's why measuring things like happiness and stress is good, because if you put a metric on it, it can at least fight against the other metrics that are much maybe easier to measure, more meaningful to measure, at least for leadership and management and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
well, what do you have? I mean, I just brought up AI like as a joke. Like Bethany did a whole bunch of manual data analysis to track it. Have you seen any teams starting to use AI in terms of doing data analysis on their happiness or their stress to help flag things for them? Have you seen any of that yet? Or is that just
I haven't yet, but I mean,
pie in the sky idea?
I think it would be something interesting. No, I think it would be interesting actually to run that data that you experienced through AI and say, do you see any cyclical trending here or anything that we should pay attention to, and see what does it say? Does it pick up on these types of patterns? It should. I mean, pattern recognition is a key thing, so certainly could make a lot of sense to have an AI running on the happiness and sustainability of your team.
Yeah, because I think a lot of teams struggle with this concept because they don't necessarily have a person who's got the time, like the
And the
space
expertise.
and also that to like sit down, do the bigger analysis. They collect, we watch a trend from one week to the next, but like the big meta view, I think is pretty important.
Yeah, with organizations you work with, do you find that is there anyone who's sort of role it is to pay attention to this? I mean, in Scrum, we'd call it a Scrum Master or somebody like this. Do you find that organizations lack a person that's looking at sustainability and things like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's not much to, yes, for sure. I feel like, especially in nonprofits, we're all stretched thin. We're all wearing all the hats, as we say, and that falls through the cracks.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that my undergrad minor was in human resources. So now maybe it's a human resource team, it's the people's team, right? But it feels like it could sit there. It could sit in the project management space, right? It doesn't have to be only folks that are worried about agile in a project management, get the project done way. But you're right, I think it's absent in a lot of organizations of various shapes and sizes. So when we think about creating a culturally safe space, knowing it could originate in a few other places, what do you do to help suggest psychological safety steps moving towards a spot, regardless of who's going to open the conversation? Any suggestions?
It's going to take time. I feel like going slow, knowing that it's going to go slow, listening to your team, and then acting on what they're saying. It's not everything, but telling them, I hear you, and I have to either take that, I might have to take that up higher, whatever the suggestion is, or not just a no and, quit listening, but what can we, almost like improv, yes, and what can we do that helps? And that then over the weeks and the months, that helps build the safety to be able to do more stuff then.
Right, because to your point, people that are doing the asking aren't the ones that necessarily have the power to influence the change. Right. You and the team had to come to me and ask.
Yeah.
Eric, in scaled situations that you're in every day, the teams don't always have the power. They're not empowered to make a change that's going to influence their number. Is that true?
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think one of the things that you need to do is get leadership at the higher level in the organization to believe this data is helpful to them. I don't know if you've seen how do you help organizations that are, let's say, the management or leadership of an organization feel that this happiness and stress data and things like this will help them?
For some, it's, hey, try it. Like it's not going to cost you anything to start tracking this data, gathering this data and tracking it. Like it's not, just try it and see if it changes. Some it might be, here's all the research that says happiness precedes success. And do you want to be a successful organization? Then maybe you want your people to be happy. So I think you kind of have to read the people to, like, do they want the data? Do they want the stories? Here's my, here's some organizations that have changed and look what all they've gotten done, or just test it and try it and see if that changes anything.
It makes me think too of another scenario where it might be, as you try to sell this to leadership in your organization, think about an organizational change that was made in the last 6 to 12 months, and maybe even ask leadership, wouldn't it have been nice to have this data when we created that change?
Yeah.
You could see if that organizational change is something people really liked or something that was challenged, and having that data would have said, happiness went down. Why? Right. So knowing that, you have a policy change in your organization that might be controversial.
Right.
Yeah. Actually, you say that and I'm like, yep, I'm nodding. And I've not tried that approach to look back and say, wouldn't it have been nice if you had it? But if you know that, especially if it's someone who likes to make empirical decisions,
right? Yeah,
I'm gonna put that one in my own.
How do you steer without seeing the dashboard and the windshield and what's going on, right? So, hey, we made this change in the organization. What was the baseline information before we made this change?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people make a change and then we'll ask after the change, how did the change go? But if you had the baseline before it and the baseline after, you don't have to ask how did the change go. You can actually see it in real data as it moves. So
very nice job on the dashboard analogy.
Right.
Hey man, I bring it back to cars and ice cream. This is Agile Driven Impact, not
the podcast.
hot fudge sundae. So
it could be.
So
it could be.
Maybe it's kind of as a closure. Oftentimes we like to make these into actionable steps. So if a team leader, a scrum master, a grant professional, anyone like that listening today has never formally measured their team's happiness, stress levels, what's like the simplest, lowest barrier step that they could make tomorrow, this week? What could they do?
I think they figure out a time frame you want to measure your happiness a week. We talk about in Scrum, we talk about a sprint. So if you have a sprint, use that. If you're not using sprints, then, a week, and just start making it part of the process, whether it's a Google form. I think we started did we start in a spreadsheet, something along those lines, and 1 through 5, and have them do it at approximately the same time every week and start looking at the data that way. And I like the stress every day just to see.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Just get started.
Yeah.
Pick something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think So as you're thinking about it, listeners, and we always issue a challenge of some kind. So what we want to hear back from you is, what is the cadence? Is it at your biweekly team meeting? Is it at your, every Friday staff get together? But like, where is it and what do you try?
Yeah.
So like that it's always at the same time, people learn to be predictable about it. And
Mhm.
like, we're super excited to hear from you. What is the thing that you try? Yeah, I think that's going to be fantastic. And so as we think about closing out today's episode, and Bethany, it was so fun to have you
Yes, it
like
was
live
fun.
with us for actual recording.
Thanks for traveling.
Yeah. True story. She does not live near us. So like,
Yeah.
right, really.
Plane flight.
Yeah,
Yep.
just to record
Canceled
with
flights.
us. Yeah.
All that stuff.
Happiness after canceled flights, lower than happiness now. But
I'm here now, so it's happy. Very
Yeah.
happy.
we'll be happier once we find post-podcast ice cream,
Yeah,
of
for
course.
sure.
And so I want to give a big thank you, Bethany, for
Thank you.
being with us and talking about this.
My pleasure.
The folks that are listening might want to read some more about the
Mhm.
research, and I'm pretty certain that those journals can be found open to the public at
Correct.
Grant Professionals Association.
Yep.
Correct?
That is correct.
All right.
Yep. And they're also on, I'm not going to remember it. Escope? Is it, do you all remember the name?
Oh, one of those like journal
Yeah.
websites. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of those. So we'll put them in the show notes.
Yeah.
And but grantprofessionals.org will also
Yeah.
help you get there if you click through their journals.
Yes.
If people want to learn more about your work or about generally healthy Grant Pro, where should they go?
Probably my website's the easiest, so bmpconsulting.org.
Awesome. Thanks again for
Thank
being
you.
with
Thank
us.
you.
Yeah, this is fun.
And as always, a huge shout out to our season 2 sponsor, Agile and Nonprofits. I know I talked about them earlier for their retrospective template that they've got. Actually, a whole bunch of templates that you can download for free. They offer training and support for nonprofits and non-government entities and change makers of all shapes and sizes. Check out their trainings and free downloads at www.agileandnonprofits.com. Thanks everybody for being with us again for this episode. And what are you gonna say?
See you at the next one.
Oh, keep driving.
Oh yeah.
Impact.
Keep driving the
Keep
impact.
driving that
All the way to
impact.
get ice
Hey,
cream.
the ice cream distracted me.
We're on our way.
Yeah,
We're not
keep
talking about
driving
our
it.
favorite flavors. No, we'll talk about that in a
Yeah.
few minutes.
All
All
right.
right. Good. Thanks again for being with us.
Thank you.
Sure.
So, are we going to Gale's for ice cream after this? Are we going to the Scoop? Like, there's so many choices in
know.
the Thousand Islands.
Which one is closest, I think? Let's go now.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say like which brand.
Oh, that also is important. Is anybody local brand makes
Local's
their
best.
makes their own ice cream.
I don't know.
They're all just bigger. Well,
Well,
Perry's is kind of.
Harry's is kind of
ish.
ish. Hershey's.
Yeah.
Okay, flavors. What are we doing? I'm getting mine in a dish. I know that. I don't know
Oh,
my
I
flavor yet.
own all the time. Sugar cone.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it adds a new
I just
level
love cone.
to eating it. You gotta eat it fast.
Yeah, it's true. It's challenging.
I like to be able to eat my cup.
Environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
That's
They
the
have the
other
cup
thing.
plus the cup. No.
I hate when they have to do that.
Oh.
Usually that's when it's a real soft ice cream, and it's
Yeah.
like, no, like gelato doesn't
Mhm.
usually. I have to get a cup for gelato
Yeah.
usually. But flavor for me is what's something local that isn't everywhere. Like, can I try something that's more here?
Mm.
And I'm not gonna remember the name of the berry. There's a berry that's grown in the Northwest. So I've been in Idaho and Washington, and they both had that berry and ice cream, and I was like, well, I can't get that
Yeah.
in the Midwest and the South. I'm gonna try that. But coffee is my go-to.
Yeah, when we lived in Michigan, Mackinac Island fudge.
Oh yeah.
Although that's spread out now, and you can get it in more places because it's been more commercialized.
Right,
But
right.
back then, it was like
Oh yeah, it's
you can
still
only get it there.
I don't know what I mean, like Thousand Islands dressing, like that would be
Right.
really
Yeah,
off.
nice.
This and
Yeah.
ice
That'd
cream.
be good.
Maybe like a maple flavor,
Yes,
right? All
yeah.
the New York maple syrup.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just something kind of unusual that's not everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, have you ever sweet corn ice cream?
What?
I don't particularly like it, but
Wow.
there is places that you can get that.
All right. Well, I don't think that's gonna
That would
be-
lower my happiness and increase my stress.
I know. I feel like
like sweet
anything
corn.
Yeah, not
anything
together.
harmful today is going to increase my happiness
Okay.
significantly. Yeah, because here we are recording on what is it?
Oh, now ice cream Sunday day.
So
Oh. And National
I-
Ice Cream Sunday Day is not on a Sunday. Seems like it should be on a
No,
Sunday.
but National Ice Cream Day is on a Sunday,
It's weird.
third Sunday of July. Just in case you need to know. Thank you,
But
President Reagan.
But Sunday Day is not on Sunday.
No.
but also July is
I
ice
think I
cream
missed an
month.
opportunity.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of reasons to celebrate and why it's amazing that Bethany wore her ice cream earring.
Yep.
And
I didn't know.
but her logo is ice
Ice
cream
cream.
branded.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And all of her like outreach messaging stuff is so on point with like
We serve
happiness and
we serve a scoop of sustainability.
Hmm.
I serve a soup. There's only me
you
talking
say
in the royal
royal
we.
we. It's more, it allows you to scale if you
Yes,
need to.
right. I do have virtual assistant.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, but yeah, we serve a scoop of sustainability.
That's cool.
Mhm.
Nice.
Well, now we've talked about it.
I enjoyed this interview.
I'm gonna enjoy it even more as it continues on our way to the ice cream shop because now I'm hungry.
Right.
Right? Like
Good.
that's I think how we have to handle it. We gotta go
Sounds
get
good
some
to
ice cream.
me.
All right, off we go. Ice
Thanks,
cream it is.
Megan.